All right, so we have come together and we've gathered together here to enlighten and empower ourselves through changing our vibrational frequency. So, as we know, everything is vibration, everything is frequency, everything is energy. And when we attune to this to change our energy, our vibration, our lives will change. And we're always here on this earth plane moving towards growth. And remember this, it's hard to remember, but if things do go wrong in your lives, remember that that is always an opportunity for change. Every time you have a problem or a situation that doesn't go your way, look at it as an opportunity for change, because if something's not going right, we can fix it. In other words, we are the ones that can change ourselves, therefore change our lives and heal. Everything is in the process of healing. And I pulled out two of the pictures from my book today. You guys are definitely going to have to help me interpret these because they're a little strange, maybe a little concerning, especially the first one. But I'm not real clear on the message yet. And I'm sure with your help, we will come together because you guys always see something I miss because we all come from a different background. We all see different things. And together we can bring together a completion of understanding of what the message is all about. Because I strongly believe in my book that there is a powerful spiritual message for all of us in this class and probably all of us around the world through the pictures that I randomly choose. So here is the first picture. So take this in. It looks like they're in a crowd. It kind of looks like to me they're in Russia. I don't think that that matters much. But there's one person striking out, grabbing a woman by her neck. And whenever I think of somebody, of course, being strangled or, with the neck can, kill somebody quite quickly. It's like, when somebody gets hung or something like that, you cut off the breathing, you cut off the blood flow to the brain. But most of all, when I think about somebody's neck being attacked, I think about their voice. So I'm thinking that the voice is being cut off, the being able to speak the truth or what you believe, that somebody is in disagreement, obviously. There's another gentleman who is, has the hands on the attacker to, get them away. So there is some protection. Someone's protecting her, but someone's attacking her. What does that mean? Interestingly enough, she is dressed in red, and red does rule anger. But it's like somebody's being attacked for what they believe or what they speak. And I don't know if it's symbolic that it's a female with male energy attacking. Maybe it deals with the balance of male female energy. But to me, this image represents that someone is being attacked for possibly something they've said or believed. And I don't know if anybody has this experience lately. We can talk about that, but probably we have. Maybe not literally being physically attacked, but somehow feeling attacked for what we believe or what we say. Okay, so I love to pair the pictures together, and that's the first image. And here is the second image. It's pretty much, it looks like it's probably in China, someplace where they have mass production of products. And they have so many people crammed together. I don't know if they're sewing but they're doing something, that they're mass producing something. This is probably, in China where they you know, everything's made in China, and this is what they do. They get together these enormous, enormous rooms of people all, you know, working. And whether or not this is, you know, labor, maybe it, you know, maybe they get paid what they feel like they should, but they feel like they've got to do it. I mean, nobody loves to work in a condition like that. Let me put it this way. Nobody would love that. But you know what? Maybe they make the money they need to provide for their families. But then again, are they being forced? Are they you know, of course, I think they're doing it at their will, but I'm sure the conditions, by looking at this, are not so favorable. I don't know if I'd want to work in a condition like that. As a matter of fact, that's ridiculous to even say. Of course, we wouldn't want to work in a condition like this. So there's something about mass production. There's something about labor and force, and you know, that people feel like they have to do a job they probably don't like in order to make ends meet. And how does this tie in with this? Are we being forced to do things we don't want to do? That's what I kind of got out of that. We're being, you know, I don't feel like I'm being forced to do anything I don't want to do. That's for sure, because I get to do whatever I want. I get to have these wonderful classes and meet with you wonderful people, and it's a blast, and it's healing, and it's wonderful. But there's a lot of people in the world that are confronted with this type of situation. In other words, being forced to do something that is not, you know, definitely not what they love. And you know, another thing that this picture tells me is control. People don't feel like they have their freedom. They're controlled to have to do something as a group, but they are definitely controlled. And this is like, you can't speak your mind, or you're going to be controlled. That's what I get out of these pictures. Now, that I'm sure that's not everything. And you know, what's a good question to ask about this is, how does this pertain to the world in our lives, these two pictures? What do you think the message is that those two images are trying to speak to us about our lives, and possibly what we can do to help the world with what's going on? And astrologically, I knew that the first part of this year would not be easy. Between now through the end of March. April is going to be where things start to turn around, but we're still in a pretty difficult astrological position, and but things are going to slowly but surely get better. We'll look at the astrology after we give our complete analysis about what the two images are trying to tell us. Does anybody want to tell me what they felt from this? Because I'm still not clear 100% on what the message is here. Does anybody have any clarity that they can shed on this? Is somebody trying to speak, and they have, you have to unmute yourself.
Kelly, unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I found is interesting in all those pictures, the colors of the people, what people are wearing, right? Mm-hmm. So blue and red is significant of Russia. Mm-hmm. Okay. Blue and yellow is significant of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And you also look at, in the other picture with the Chinese people there, you look at that and all those colors show up there, right?
You're right.
Okay, so when you look at the colors, okay, the colors are, Spirit kind of told me to look at the colors. And this is where this is playing out with those three countries, right? The Voice not saying what was being said even yesterday in the news, but what occurred with the FBI agent that allegedly, you know, accused Trump of, you know, the Russiagate stuff. Now he's being accused of laundering with Russia, right?
Mhm.
So timing is everything, as we know, in synchronistic events. But this is also too, I will say this, my hunch is there's a woman behind a lot of stuff that's going on that's coming out to the forefront. So that
Interesting.
feminine energy that we're going to see a lot of that. So pay attention, like how things play out. We'll find out, I should say.
Okay.
So, and maybe someone who's a participant. So also, but I think that's where the fighting, the squelching of voice, the squelching of people, all of it. We're going to see more and more of that. And the good news is I feel like there's going to be more rebelling, and that's a healthy thing to do. So that's what I picked up from that, or what Spirit gave me.
That's really cool because, yeah, somebody's being attacked. It's a woman. And yeah, and it's all about control. Don't ask questions, don't do anything. But yeah, there is going to be a lot more attacks. And there's been a lot of I haven't had the chance to watch TV very much lately, but the one things I did kind of glance over while in airports and things like that was that there's been a lot of shootings going on again. So people are angry about something, definitely. Anyone else want to add to the picture?
Kelly, the colors, the red and the blue. So red is known for like masculine energy and the masculine side, and then blue is typically seen as like the feminine and the left side of the body. So I just thought that was interesting that like you brought them up for countries, but it's also for like masculine, feminine too.
Interesting. Absolutely. Anyone else want to add to that? Come on, somebody's got to add something. Don't be afraid to speak. This is the problem. We're afraid to speak, right?
I will. The Chinese, I hate to put it like this, but there's factories everywhere in China, and this is what they're used to.
Yeah.
This is how they work. This is how they're used to. I mean, this is what they do.
Right.
That's how they make their money. It's not uncommon to them. They live in huge skyscraper, teeny tiny apartments during the week with no heat, no air. Go downstairs, do their work, and then head home for the weekend. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. I wonder if they know how bad it is. They're just so used to it and conditioned. I wonder if they do know how bad it is.
We have firsthand.
They do. My brother, I have a brother who used to work there for a number of years. He was 2 weeks in China and 2 weeks back in the United States. And he did this, well, practically his whole career. And so he was, having to deal with it. And they are not happy with that. In fact, the working conditions were pretty bad, and the people, they don't really see their families, and the men leave and go to work, and they're working 12 to 14-hour days, and then they're expected to go out at night and drink and carry on, and then they go to sleep in these little cubicles, and then they get to go home every once in a while where their wives, and then they have mistresses where they're working. And so their wives hate that they're gone from, the family doing that, because they're aware of what's going on, and none of them like it. They're not happy. So
Good. Well, maybe this is that the women are starting to speak out, and there's a rebellion against the women, and this is what they're speaking out about. Do you see what I'm saying? So the women have a right, because hey, let's look at this picture closely. How many men do you see in this room working? So I think this is an issue concerning women. Yeah, it's all women in there. Every single one looking at it closely. And like you say, Michelle, that the men do, their jobs, and the women have to go to their jobs. And something needs to be said but look, there's a man attacking the woman for saying and speaking out. So I bet there's going to be a lot of stuff about, gender, women speaking out about their rights. And hopefully, yeah, something will change in China because of this, because, it's all mass production for what? Money, but it forfeits people's quality of life and existence here on the planet. And they can't be happy. It's like they're robots, and we all have feelings and emotions that need to be expressed and felt. I was saying at this conference where I was teaching, I was the only speaker. It was just a weekend workshop, but it wasn't a conference per se. But one thing that I said that really bothers me, because when I went to this Western conference during the summer, there was a couple of people that were saying, oh, my horoscope sign or my zodiac sign is, I have feelings. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? Everyone has feelings. I don't care what sign you are. And she was like, oh, no, there's just this certain sign, my sign is the one that has these deep, profound feelings. And I was like, you're wrong. And she didn't like me, needless to say. We were over lunch and she didn't like that I said that, because she thought, some people act like they're so special. And I will never forget one time, me and my husband, we've been together since high school. I'll never forget. I can even remember where we were driving in the car. I was, between all of us, I was probably on my period. And I hated when he would point that out, It's like, no, it's not that. But I was complaining about how I felt and how my feelings were hurt, my feelings this and my feelings that. And he looked at me and says, you know what? I have feelings too. And it just hit me blindsided that, yeah, of course he's got feelings, but I was so consumed in my stupid feelings that I didn't even consider his feelings in all of my expression with that. I mean, it really woke me up that day, because, we can be so self-consumed about our feelings, and everyone has feelings. And how awful for these poor women that their feelings are discounted just to go to work and make money for whatever company that they work for, and treat them like slaves and treat them like robots. And if you speak out, this is what happens to you. So I think a lot is about to change in the world, about people speaking out about their feelings, their life, and being abused. And, there's so much going on too with human trafficking. This is a little bit of this, abusing. It's beyond my comprehension that people can do that to other human beings, beyond my comprehension. But we know it happens, even though I just can't, I can't conceive of it. Why people would hurt one another is beyond me, but it happens. And I think a lot of this is about to explode in the world coming up here. And when it does explode, when people fight back and, state their mind and what they're feeling and what they're angry about, that's what promotes change. And I think, it's like the rebellion. I think, Kelly, you said there was something about a lot of rebellion that's coming, and that's a good thing, because if we don't rebel, things won't change. And that's really the planet of Uranus. And Uranus is the planet that's stationary right now. It's the planet of rebellion and unexpected. So when a planet does station, and by the way, those of you that don't know astrology, from our vantage point on Earth, in our speed of, passing, or, planets being, alongside of us when we're going around the sun, sometimes, we will pass and that planet looks like it's going backwards from our vantage point, but it's really not. And so when a planet is stationing, it means it's changing its direction. So it may be going retrograde, or it may be changing and going direct. But in that process, it kind of stands still because it's shifting from direct to retrograde or retrograde to direct. And that's called a station. And when a planet stations, it becomes the most powerful planet. And even if you have any planet stationary in your birth chart, that planet will be who you are and what you're all about. And Uranus is a planet that's stationed right now. Uranus rules, it rules electronics, it rules inventions, it rules technology, it rules astrology, it rules rebellion, it rules change, and it's called the Great Awakener. So now that it is stationary, it's awakening all of us to things that probably we ignored or didn't know about. And this creates bottom line change. I used to say, Uranus bottom line, its definition is the planet of change. And in the process of change, we're awakened to a whole new world and a whole new life. And this is always has to happen. So things aren't constantly in flux and changing, you know, but right now they are with this planet stationing. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that will be also exposed, you know, and through that, this creates a change that we all need. And I welcome the change. It's a shame that we have to, you know, revert sometimes to violence, people in the world, but it's just when you oppose someone, or if you oppose something that's been a law for so long, you know, the powers that control the world are going to fight against it. And that's where we get the rebellions, the revolutions, and the, you know, unfortunately, with such a violent world, people end up dying. It's sad, but it's true. But change is upon us right now. That's what I want to say. Anyone else want to add to this?
I just want to add two things.
Good.
Real quickly, really important, actually, if you ever do any conference calls, anything like that with China, right? Never, ever, everyone's being monitored there. So never, ever talk politically, never talk about anything. You can get that person in trouble. You literally, they're all monitored.
Okay.
All right. So the other thing is actually back to what we were just chatting about change and things coming and where, right? So there's this guy out there, his name is Paul Hutchinson. Paul Hutchinson, and you can Google him. He is actually coming out now about his work. He's a multi-millionaire. And he's now coming out in his work, being very vocal about his work in preventing grabbing children from being sex trafficked. His role as a businessman was to go in to buy children. And he was asked by the Utah AG to use his wealth to go in undercover. He did 30 missions like this, saving hundreds of children, women. So he's now on his platform talking all about this, what happened, who's with this or whatever. He would be bringing with Navy SEALs, all these other people. So when we talk about things like coming to a head, people like that are going to be coming out about what their roles were and what's happening. So there's going to be this undertake that's all in the news. It's all there with different things. When we say like, okay, the buck stops here, things that are going on in our borders, right? We're going to see more of this in this year, especially because it's a gigantic stepping stone year, about making things morally right. So watch out. It's actually good. It's great timing, but it's also the space where you're going to see these other countries all realizing what's going on. There's going to be pivotal, like almost like, you know what, like gigantic downloads that are going to happen within our world. And that sounds kind of generic, but that's what I feel like what we're going to be seeing. And we're so aware on this page, everybody is. Mm-hmm. Watch and see like what you feel, sense, or you're going to see a lot of repeats of things happening in this country, and then it's going to repeat itself in this country. So it's going to be finally about time, right? But you know what, those are some important pieces to just pay attention to. But Google him and see his work. It's pretty phenomenal.
Thank you. That's great.
He's not on YouTube, is he?
Does he have a YouTube channel, Kelly?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
Paul Hutchinson?
yeah.
Maybe you can put it in the chat, Kelly.
Yeah, I can, yeah, I can get it for you. He's starting to interview on podcasts and stuff.
Tracy just put his
Tracy
website
put it
on there. Yeah.
Oh,
thank you.
thanks.
Official.
Okay. Well, one thing that comes to mind for me right now is that when we do our daily meditations, we need to send out the light to heal our planet and making it a better world for people, because I don't want to see people having to go to those sweatshops and all do all that kind of work and never have a life, never get to feel emotions and have happiness or joy, just be a robot. That makes me ill. And, people that are completely abused, such as in this, human trafficking, that is something that we need to just send some positive healing energy, because that is so dark. It's incredible. To heal our planet, we've got to heal some of this darkness. And I just can't believe it seems like it keeps getting worse, but it really can't be getting worse. Things are getting better. Things have were a lot worse before. They just, what I always say, because of social media, because of phones, because of everything that we have today, we just know about it more. It's always been there, and it's probably been worse than we ever thought, but now it's being talked about and exposed. So the more we bring something to the light, the more it disappears. I always, and I even gave that analogy about Hercules with the Hydra. It was Chiron that hired Hercules to go kill the Hydra, and every time he cut off some of the heads, 10 more grew back. And it wasn't until he got on his knees and surrendered to the Hydra that the Hydra finally disappeared and just went away. And what that whole symbology is about, I don't even know if I gave you this myth before, but what it's about is when we ignore our fears, they multiply and grow. But it's when we surrender to them and bring them to the light, that's when they're healed. And some of the things are so awful, we don't want to bring them out to the light. But that's the only way that they're not going to control us anymore. Because when you pretend something's not there when it is, it will tend to control your life unconsciously, and you'll be miserable. So we really got to attend to what is going on in our own individual lives that is dark or that we don't want to deal with. Bring it to the light, and then you'll see it'll disappear, because it's when we ignore it that it multiplies and grows. So maybe that's a message, because I want to get a message for us individually. I know this can be talking about what is going on globally in the world. This is definitely, going on globally, but we need to figure out what we can do about it individually, besides, our prayers and meditation to bring more light to the world. But look at our own lives in terms of what it is that we've been ignoring, because it's not pleasant. You know what? We all have a shadow side, they say, psychologically. And when we ignore it, pretend, we're all perfect and great, that's when the shadow side can grow more and control us more. And most of all, control our reactions and our behaviors to things. So I believe when you can't do anything about what's going on in the world, you can't just say, it's not my problem. You look at how you can change yourself, because the outside world is always a reflection of what's going on within. There's this song by 10 Years After. It's one of my favorite songs back in the 70s. I wish I could change the world, but because I can't, I'll leave it up to you. How does it go? Something to the effect where all the terrible things that are going on in the world, if I don't know what to do, but we do know what to do, and that is to work on ourselves, to see what is it that really, and that dark side is what we're most fearful of. What is it that you're really fearful about facing within yourself? Bring it to the light. Reveal it to yourself, and then it will go away and it won't control you. You know, when people have deep, dark secrets, and I've seen this as an astrologer many, many, many times, but when people have deep, dark secrets, they tend to ignore them and hope they'll go away, push them aside. But what happens is they will control you and your reactions to things. So that's what I want everyone to know, to recognize the things that you don't like about yourself and work on them and change them and heal them. This is what we can do to help change the world and make it a better place. Okay. So this is a deep message. This is like global. We usually get stuff that's more personal, but this is like how everything in the world's being affected right now. And I said, you know, in my predictions, there could be the onset of some kind of war happening between the first 3 to 4 months in the world. But it's just going to bring out the truth and things are going to be healed. Okay. So anyone want to add to that before we go to the astrology of everything? I'm gonna mute everybody. Good, Deborah, I want you to say something.
Yeah, my only real comment is the power of the voice. And it did look like someone was telling her to be quiet, but I also felt like people were trying to support her to get her message out. And when you see people in a factory like that, it reminds you the power of the individual voice. And so speaking out and, you know, claiming your truths, claiming what you see affects others in a positive way, can create change. So holding back, even if, and you know, I speak because this is my issue often, having been told to be quiet and all the lifetimes as a healer where you're burned at the stake and all those other things that happen. You know, it's hard to get your voice out, but that individual voice is a very powerful tool. And I sort of saw it in a positive way, even though it looked negative, but it was that power of the individual. And so I think that's the message I see from those two images.
You know, Deborah, that is exactly what I saw too. And Deborah and I had a long conversation yesterday.
We did. It was wonderful.
Yes. And yes, you had, you know, in your chart that you were silenced as a child and you never felt like your voice was heard. So you really got the message in that. And I also think, you know, with the throat, the voice, and of course, burned at the stake many lifetimes, you know, we all, probably all of us here probably had something like that. I'm sure we wouldn't be drawn to support each other and we're all on the same vibrational frequency. But I do want everyone to know about Deborah. She's written 2 amazing books. No, really, I have to tell everyone about your books. She's one of the rare people who want to work to empower other people. It's not about her. That's why she's never spoken up before. But I want you to start speaking up more, Deborah, because you are a very powerful healer. And she has 2 powerful books. What are the titles of your books again?
One is Embrace Your Psychic Gifts, and it's about tuning into your intuitive powers. And then the second is Meet Your Guides, and it's about learning how to connect with your angels, the archangels, and the ascended masters, and recognizing that you have a spirit team around you and you have access to them, and to know that, you know, you have a completely amazing power of guides that you come into this lifetime with, and that you're not alone, and that there's a lot of assistance helping us figure out solutions to things that are happening.
Absolutely. And I know she's going to be writing another book. She may not know it yet, but I do. So, but I just wanted you to put that out there because you are a powerful, powerful, amazing person. And I'm so happy that you're part of this group. It's so funny. We have so many
Thank you.
psychics in this group. You know, it's amazing. So I love that. So thank you for sharing, because I felt the same thing about this picture, you know. And there is support, because like you and I noted, there's somebody grabbing that hand to pull it away. But yeah, it's that throat chakra, that speaking our being heard. We've got to not be afraid to speak our voice, because you know your voice is correct, whatever it may be. It's correct for you. Come from the place of the light and speak it, because this is going to help other people. Thank you, Deborah. Anyone else want to add anything?
Hi, Joni. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna add that I saw that as a wake-up call, because, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and I apologize ahead of time if this offends anybody. But during the past elections, if you didn't go along with a certain way of thinking, then you were silenced, you were bullied into being silenced. And I personally experienced that, which is one of the reasons why I moved. And so now the CIA, with Elon Musk buying Twitter, it's come out that the CIA and the FBI were censoring social media during that time. So it's going on not only in communistic countries, but it's been going on in the United States. And I think it was a real wake-up call during the elections that people were getting censored unless you went along with a certain way of thinking. And that's got to stop, because if we let something, that's one of our main freedoms here in the United States. And if we let our freedom of speech go in the United States, let people bully us, put up with it, and live in a world of fear where we're afraid of retaliation if we do speak up, then we can end up in being like a communistic country where you're totally controlled and you can't speak at all.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for sharing. That took a lot of guts. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've lived it, so, and I'm speaking my truth now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And thank God for Elon Musk. And, you know, this goes to either side, any side. You know, nobody should have to be silenced. No one. But to see one whole side of the world be able to speak and the other side completely silenced, nobody gets the truth.
Right.
No one's getting the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
and they are now.
Yeah, finally it's coming out. Thank God.
You two should get together. You live really close to each
I
other.
know. We should.
I agree.
Oh my God.
Okay. Anyone else want to make any comments before we go look at the astrology of it all? Somebody else started to speak when you did, Michelle. Who was it? They want to say
It was me. Hi, it's me, Danica.
Okay, Danica, tell us what you're trying to say.
Well, I saw the same thing that I saw the same thing in the photo, and you and I had a reading recently, and I grew up with a malignant narcissist father, and it was like kind of startling when I looked at it, because it was like my whole life was like just throttled. Don't speak, you're not worthy.
Yeah.
So it's a bit emotional. So it's, yeah, I saw it the same way. And then, you know, I agree with Michelle as well. Like, I have very different views, and I live in Los Angeles, and you say so, you're canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, now I'm learning at 56 years old to speak up a bit, and it can be a bit intimidating, you know. And it's just, so seeing that photo, it was just sort of like, wow, like I lived that, you know, just like, no, you're not, you don't get a voice, you don't get an opinion.
Yeah.
So it was, just wanted to say I agree with some of the same viewpoints here.
Well, I think the message here is we need to speak our voice. We need to say what we what we believe. And, you know, and people don't have the right to invalidate us, you know, no matter what you say. You know, nothing makes me more angry when you express to somebody how you feel and somebody says, no, you don't. We've all had that happen, right? No, you don't. I was like, yes, I do. That's what I just said. One of my sisters used to always say that to me. No, you don't. And I was like, yes, I do. That is how I feel. So our feelings need to be voiced. It validates us and it makes us stronger, regardless of, you know, what, if other people agree with us or not. It makes us stronger to voice what we feel, because, you know, our feelings are valuable and our feelings should be validated. And I think that's what we're seeing. Yeah, probably that's what we see in this. These women's feelings aren't validated at all. You know, they have to go here in this horrendous huge room. How did they even order everybody in and out? It must take an hour for people to exit or enter, because there's so many people in that room. It's sad. We don't need to be like that anymore. We don't need to conform to we just need to be strong in what we believe and voice it. So I think, and what we have to say is valuable, not be invalidated anymore. So I think that's good. Let's see if the astrology confirms that. It always does. You know how that works. So let me now share the screen.
China is a good example of how a government can control people.
That is. So that's probably why that came up. Okay. So all right, so here it is. Today is January 24th, 2023, 12 noons when we started in Dallas. And I find it really interesting looking at this entire chart. And I know some of you aren't astrologers, but I'll explain it in layman's terms so you can understand what it's telling us. That this thing that looks like a horseshoe, we call it Rahu, and in Western astrology, it's called the North Node of the moon. Notice it's the same exact degree as the ascendant, 14 degrees, 14 degrees. That's very meaningful, because the nodal axes, which are always exactly opposite, see 1450, 1450. This is Rahu, the North Node, and this is Ketu, the South Node. Always, always opposite. But they are conjunct. It is exactly, I mean, even almost to the minutes. This is 46 and that's 50, almost exact. Are they conjunct? What does that mean? The nodal axes are destiny, and it means something huge is going to happen, or the message that we're supposed to get out of this class, pretty much, because, you know, this is the rising sign. The rising sign in a chart lasts for 2 hours. So in a 24-hour period of time, the rising sign will go through all 12 signs. But right now, when we pulled it up, it is exact with the ascendant, meaning that there's an important message concerning all of our destiny here that we're supposed to get out of this. Now, the ascendant and Rahu, and even Uranus, which is finally direct, but it's stationary, is in the first house. This represents to me that this is a huge destiny point. Things are about to change. And the fact that they're in Aries. Aries is the sign of new beginnings. The ascendant is in Aries, and this is the abbreviations. These are abbreviations for the nakshatras. There's 27 nakshatras, and all the planets will fall in a certain nakshatra. And they have deep, rich meaning. Bharani is the nakshatra that deals with major breakthroughs, new beginnings. Rahu on the ascendant, there's going to be some major breakthroughs about to happen, not only in the world, but in our individual lives, because we're being awakened. That is the meaning of the planet Uranus, the Great Awakener. Rahu is destiny, and the ascendant is the very beginning of the chart. It's what really sets up the whole chart. So to have this means that there is a huge awakening happening right now in the world and in our individual lives. That's what I can tell you from the chart. So Mars rules Aries, and the fact that it sits over here at 14, almost 15 degrees. You know what's very meaningful about that is that the two fixed stars, now I don't expect anybody to know this unless they've been studying astrology for a long time, so don't worry if you don't know this, but there's two fixed royal stars that sit at 15, 16 degrees of Taurus Scorpio. They're always exactly opposite. And the royal stars are extremely important because they're some of the brightest stars. There's 4 of them. And the reason why they're called the royal stars is the people who are guided by the stars in the old days before we had the technology of computers, they would be guided by the stars. And the 4 royal stars were the ones that they looked for to determine where they were. So what are those royal stars? They're in the fixed signs, and they actually are related to the archangels, they say. So Aldebaran is at 15, 16 degrees of Taurus. It is the eye of the bull. And of course, it's in the nakshatra Rohini because it's a red star. And it's actually called the red eye of the bull. But believe it or not, in Vedic astrology, that nakshatra that sits in Taurus, Rohini, is called the red one. And so, you know, I just put a video out on YouTube recently where I said, you know, this is why I love Vedic astrology, because it's true to the stars. As the stars move, those groupings stay in those signs. So in other words, Aldebaran, which is the red eye of the bull, will always be in Taurus. But in Western astrology, they think it's in Gemini. That can't be possible. It is the eye of the bull. So it will always be the eye of the bull if you follow the stars. In Vedic astrology, its movement is based on the stars, not the sun. But to make a long story short, Aldebaran is about 15, 16 degrees of Taurus. And exactly opposite that, in Scorpio, 15, 16 degrees, there is Antares, which is the heart of the scorpion. So we have that opposition of those 2 royal stars. There's also the other 2 royal stars are in Leo, and that's Regulus, which is the heart of the lion. And there's Famulot, which is in Aquarius. So if you can see, those are the 4 fixed signs, the 4 royal stars. And they are the brightest. That's why the people who would travel, you know, the seas would use the stars for direction. Those 4 royal stars, very important. So really what I'm getting at, I think Mars coming up to hit that royal star in the next few days could deal with some kind of violent breakouts of war or something, or either just war in our streets. And it's really already happening, if I could say, because, you know, there's so many mass shootings and things like that. People are angry. Mars is the planet of war, and it's about to trigger that axis of Aldebaran and Antares. And Antares is actually considered the star of war, okay? Aldebaran has more positive connotations than Antares, but there's going to be some events in the, you know, within the week when Mars is crossing over that right now. Okay, so that's kind of a world view and prediction, but Mars is the chart ruler by the fact that it rules Aries, and it's very prominent as to where it is right now. Now, I always want to look over here at where the moon is, because the moon is the planet that moves the fastest. It stays in a sign for 2.5 days. So it will go through the whole zodiac every month, but wherever it is speaks volumes about what we're here to learn today. And so it is in Aquarius. And Saturn just entered Aquarius recently, and Aquarius is the sign of humanity. So I think the message here with the moon in Aquarius, and it's approaching Neptune, is that we're being woken up to what is good for humanity. And if you ask me, this is about humanity, and things need to change on a whole for people. This can't, we can't have people being controlled, the masses being miserable. It's sad. So I think we're waking up to the truth of what is good for humanity, with the moon being in Aquarius. Now it is in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada, which is the nakshatra that deals with two faces, a man with two faces. So we may not be seeing the truth, in other words, when the moon is in this nakshatra. This nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada is ruled by Jupiter. And by the way, I'm starting my new semester 1. Any of you guys in the university, you're come on and listen in tomorrow. I'm starting the class at 8:30 because I just get to hold on to a Capricorn ascendant, where well, to make a long story short, for those of you, you're wondering why I chose 8:30 a.m. Central Time. I don't like getting up early, but I had to have the moon in that nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada because it's ruled by Jupiter. Therefore, the whole dasha sequence that starts for the class is Jupiter, not Saturn. But I'm telling you, I'm really pushing it because the ascendant's 29 degrees. I think it's interesting. I have it 29 degrees of Capricorn. It's so close to Saturn. That was kind of a concern, but hey, I wanted to start the class in the Jupiter Mahadasha and not Saturn's dasha. But okay, if that meant nothing to you, just let me speak in everyone's language again. So Jupiter is in Pisces, and I think that is so healing. And right now, for this chart, it's in the 12th house, bringing up so many things that need to be healed from the past. That's what I'm seeing with Jupiter in Pisces. And but this is very meaningful to have Saturn, Venus, Moon, Neptune in the 11th house of groups and organizations. And actually to have Venus approaching the moon, Venus is going to conjunct the moon pretty soon. It's probably late. I mean, no, the moon's already crossed over Venus. What am I saying? Never mind. But Venus is with the moon here. And so what I think that is female energy. Female energy. Venus and the moon represent females, right? Together in the same sign. There's something about the female energy that I think is represented here for healing. And I don't know, I know we have some men in this group, but I don't see them. A lot of people listen to the recording that are part of this group. They're not able to participate. And but what this is really saying is that the voice of the female, the feminine, has to be heard. That's what I think this means, to have a spiritual healing and to change the world. You know, women's voice have been repressed throughout, eons of time. So that's very important that this is coming out. I think Mercury being in the sign of Sagittarius is about speaking truth, especially the nakshatra Purva Ashada. So Mercury is a communications. And remember, Mercury just turned direct not that long ago. So it's moving forward. So now people will be able to come out and speak and be part of their truth. Absolutely. And Mars and Mercury were in a very difficult aspect called a quincunx, but it's moving away. So things are moving forward. Notice there is not one single planet with the RX retrograde. They're all moving forward, even Uranus now. Mars is direct, Mercury's direct. Even all of the outer planets, this is rare when everything's direct. So now it's time for you to move forward with the things that you felt like you were held back with for so long. This is forward movement and things are about to change. And I think between now through April, we're going to see a lot of positive changes. And, you know, it may come through some contention and fighting, but most of all, it's like a revolutionary change is about to take place on our planet. And yes, the female voice is going to be heard. Yes, and like Kelly said, maybe it's a female that's behind a lot of what's coming out in the world that, you know, and we don't know it yet, but, you know, they will be attacked for saying it, but that's okay. At least they're saying it and it will be heard. And this is vitally, vitally important. The sun being in the 10th house of leadership, rulership around the world, the sun just crossed over Pluto. What was that? Probably 6 days ago. The sun rules, the sun moves 1 degree per day. And so maybe 6 days ago, something came up about world leadership and leaders around the world that needed to be exposed to bring the truth in closer. And this doesn't just have to be in the US, but it's everywhere. And I think, you know, and the fact that we see what's going on in China, I have said before in my predictions, around the time of March, we're going to see a lot coming up about China in contention with the United States. We haven't seen nothing yet, I believe. And a lot is about to transpire and change. And groups and women and healing is going to be important for humanity right here. So we're doing our part here with our group, I believe. And even Mercury being in the 9th house, the 9th house is the house about truth, about spirituality. And it's also the house about higher learning and laws. So Mercury being in Sag, there's going to be a lot of change in the laws and the truth coming out. This is, you know, the truth is like in my whole analogy about the Hydra and Hercules. You know, we have got to bring out what we're afraid of, our dark side, and bring it to the light so that it can dissolve and not control our lives anymore. The truth heals. That's what I'm getting out of this. Okay. So anyone want to add to what I'm seeing in this chart? And if you do, make it palatable for the people that don't understand astrology. Not all of us are in the astrology classes. Okay.
Joni, I'm sorry, what does BP mean? I've never asked that.
Yeah, you know, when I use these charts for public, or like when I put charts in my book, I always take that out because most people don't know what that means. So therefore it's confusing. It's actually stands for the Brigue point. And the Brigue point is supposed to be a destiny point in your chart. I just started using it. And what it is the midpoint between the moon and Rahu. And see, if you look at the moon here and Rahu here, they're, you know, like 20 degrees. So I don't know why sometimes why it wouldn't be here instead of being opposed, but it is. But it deals with, if you consider the moon is our mind, it's our consciousness, it's our feelings, it's our awareness, and Rahu is destiny. So to find the midpoint between that's going to deal with some deep emotional destiny point in our lives. So for this is pertaining to the world. I wouldn't really, you know, maybe the Brigue point in the 6th house, especially being in Virgo, could mean that there's something coming up again about health and healing in the world, and that things need to be healed. That can be metaphorically, or it can be literally, maybe something dealing with, you know, I hate to think about any more biological warfare, but, you know, now that the virus works so well to control the world, don't think that they're not going to try it again in some way, you know? Yeah. But does that help you understand it? Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else want to ask a question or add anything? You know, I am going to go over here to my book, The Power. I know that Michelle has moved on to the other Rhonda Byrne book. That what is it again, Michelle? That you've gotten a lot out of?
The Greatest Secret.
The
But I
Great-
actually go back and forth. I do The Power and The Greatest Secret.
Yeah.
And Secret.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just going to open the book and read a passage from it for us to see what we need to know to be positive, because we don't want to be left in this class with the negative. But really, it's not negative to attest to what is our dark side, to bring it to the light. But let me see. Here's what I opened to. Love will do anything for you, okay? You can harness the force of love to help you with anything in your life. You can hand over anything you need to remember and ask the force of love to remind you of it at the perfect time. You can have the force of love be your alarm clock and wake you up at the time you want. The force of love will be your personal assistant, money manager, personal health trainer, relationship counselor, and it will manage your money, your weight, your food, your relationship, or any task you want to give it. But it will only do these things for you when you unite with it through love, appreciation, and gratitude. It will only do these things for you when you join forces with it through love and let go of your white knuckle grip on life in trying to control everything on your own. So here's a saying from someone. As your faith is strengthened, you will find that there is no longer the need to have a sense of control, and things will flow as they will, and that you will flow with them to your great delight and benefit. But this says, unite forces with the greatest force in life. And whatever you want, the force of love will do for you. Imagine having it, feel having it, and with absolute love and gratitude, and you will receive it. Let me read one more paragraph here. Use your imagination and think of all the things the force of love can do for you. The force of love is the intelligence of life and the universe. If you can imagine the intelligence that can create a flower or a cell in a human body, then you will appreciate that there isn't a single question you can ask that you won't receive the perfect answer for whatever your situation. Love will do anything for you, but you have to unite with it through love to realize its power in your life. So here's what I say. Here's what I want to leave you guys with, and you can add to that. But that all of us need to find our voice and love yourself, send yourself all the love, and appreciate yourself. Realize that, you are a loving, beautiful human being that is here to help humanity, and appreciate and have gratitude for who you are. But bring up those things that you have been dismissing or just, wanting to ignore, that you can shed light on these things, and then you will heal through the power of love and appreciation for who you are. So I want you to no more feel like your voice is not important, because it is. You have something very valuable to add to your life and to heal your life, and that will consequently lead to healing the world. And always remember, the most powerful force that heals everything is love. But of course, we've got to have self-love and love ourselves, and not be afraid to speak what we know is the truth, and do it with confidence and love. Maybe that's the additional portion that we needed to add to this, that when we speak our truth, do it with love. Know that you're speaking it not just to be right, but because you want to heal the planet in your life. That's where it comes from. And be grateful that these things are being revealed to you so that you can heal them. Have gratitude, have the feeling of appreciation, love yourself, and speak your truth. And do it with compassion and love. That's probably the missing piece that I needed to get from the power with all of that. So anyone want to add to what, because it looks like it's going to be a rough week till the next time we get together. That's why I pulled those pictures. But you need to come from a place of love with understanding of why we're being, why we're seeing the dark energy that we're going to bring to the light. And I always think about when you bring something to the light, the truth heals. The truth is going to be what dissolves it. And I always kind of think of it as the Wicked Witch from the West when Dorothy threw water on the Wicked Witch of the West. It just kind of dissolves and goes away, what we're so afraid of. And then we come to realize that wasn't even anything to be afraid of. That's what I think. You know, the Wizard of Oz is probably the most symbolic movie that's ever been produced. And when we have time, another time, I'll bring up all the symbology and essentially what it is from the Wizard of Oz. That movie is just telling us that what we're searching for all along the path of life, we already have it. Just think about it. The lion was searching for courage, which he already had. And the Tin Man was searching for, was it the brain? And the straw man that was searching for, no, it was the Tin Man was the heart, the scarecrow was the brain, one way or another. Those characters in the movie had those attributes and they didn't realize it. So to pull this all circle, we don't realize who we really are. We already have everything within us. And Dorothy was looking to find home, which when she woke up from the dream, she realized she already was home. We already have those things that we're searching for outside of ourselves within us. That is the symbology of the Wizard of Oz. And we're all going through life, searching always outside of ourselves for that which we already have within us. And we're all searching for that sense of going home, which is what? Our eternal home, which is where we're one with the divine. And that is always within all of us. We're at home when we go within and we meditate and unite with the heart energy, because that is where the home is. In astrology, it's the fourth house. So we're always searching for that essence of happiness within our heart. That's home. That's the true home. All of our home is oneness with the divine. So, all right.
Hey, Joni.
I've said everything I want to say. Go ahead.
Could you show the pictures again? I jumped on late and then I never get to the replay.
Okay.
I didn't know we were gonna have a horrible week, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see the photos.
Okay, here's the photo, the first one. Can you see that? Here, I'm going to take it off share so you can see it. So we were conferring about how you know, someone's attacking her in her throat energy, where she wants to voice her opinion, and there is somebody protecting her. There's another gentleman taking trying to pull the arm away, but we all kind of felt like, you know, we're always silenced, that our voice is not important, where it is, and we're being attacked, and it is a female. And then the second picture is one of those places in China where everyone is sewing, doing the same thing. And these poor people do not have a quality of life. They're all women. So we suspect there's something to do with the influence of women in the world and how they're going to be able to have their voice heard. And we should be able to voice what we feel, no matter what it is. So, and know that it is our truth, and come from a place of healing and love for ourselves, that our truth is very, very, very valuable. What we have to say, and being heard and validated is extraordinarily important for all of us. And it came out in the astrology chart as well, where we had Venus with the moon. Venus and moon are female energies, and they were in the 11th house of group activity. And I feel like there's going to be a major change, and we have to be confident that our voice is powerful, should be heard, and we have to love ourselves for it. Okay. Was that, anybody want to add? Did I miss anything? Any words of advice or healing for the coming week till we meet again? Okay. I think we're good with this message today. So y'all hang in there. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to discuss and talk about next week from what messages and images, but stay balanced, stay focused. And once again, let's send the light out in our meditations to heal our planet and all the poor people out there that are controlled and manipulated by their governments or even by their families or people in their lives. Let's pray that we all have truth, because truth is freedom. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me today, and I love all of your comments. We've got such a powerful healing group here. Thank you everyone for your participation and being part of this group. Namaste.
Thank you, Joni.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you, Joni.